I'll pause and allow the 2 minutes to go by so other people will join us before we formally start our event. If you have any questions or problems while we're going through the session, there's a raise hand feature at the bottom. Somebody will message you to see what's going on. If you can't hear, please use again the chat box and let us know of any issues as we go through the session. Right? Frida, can you make me a host?
I've done that.
Okay, I see that now. All right, we'll have polling questions at the end of this. Please, respond to our polling questions. We'd like to get feedback from you. And then we'll also have a survey afterwards. Please fill it out. Honestly, this is the first of many Brunch and Learns that we plan to have this year. So as first participants, we'd like to hear your feedback. All right. So we're at the hour, so I'll go ahead and get started. I think I've met most of you, which feels awesome. My networking is paying off. But I am Chita Kabulo. I am a CPA in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a manager at Deloitte & Touche in their advisory practice, where I focus on banking and capital markets clients. I provide internal audit and regulatory compliance services to them. And I've been doing it for close to 7 years, which I feel like I'm getting out of the youth bound as that time goes by. But I like what I do, but in the community, I like to get involved as well. I've been working with Frida and ZLA and AZA. Over the last year, we put on the Zambia 55 Independence, and I've been in the non-for-profit circle as well with Selfless for Africa, and I'm always attending those events because giving back is something that I'm passionate about. So very happy to be hosting our very first Brunch and Learn to empower our youth. We've heard feedback that they are hungry for mentorship, for resources, and to do better, and that's the intention of this. We won't be defining what youth is during this session, so whatever your definition, if you have youth in your heart, welcome, and we're happy to have you. We have a great lineup of speakers, as you've seen, who will be talking to us about moments and their story that expanded their mindset and how that has led to winning in their lives. And this introduction is brief. In the interest of time, I would like to get our first speaker started, Dr. Luka Powanga, who, Dr. Powanga, we ask that maybe you give the people a little background on yourself before you go into your prepared remarks. Dr. Luka? You're still on mute, Dr. Luka.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Luka Powanga. I'm from Zambia. I started off at going to full secondary school and then going to the University of Zambia and working for the mining industry in Zambia. I worked in Changa for quite a while there. Then I left for the US. And in the US, I ended up working at Colorado School of Mines as one of the instructors there. And then I transitioned to Regis University. And along the way, I worked for smaller companies like my own, which I formed, Mock Management Consulting, and also other companies at the time. So apart from now, I'm a professor at Regis University, and I teach international business, economics, entrepreneurship, international finance, and other courses that are related to business. So I'm a professor of business. But apart from that, I also host the Energy Africa Conference, where we look at decision makers from the world, both from from the business community, from the government, from academia, and also from civil society to come to Denver and talk about how Africa can develop an energy infrastructure that is sustainable, that is accessible, that is cost effective, and also an infrastructure that is resilient. And the second thing that we do, which is the most important piece, is not only to form partnerships, but also to actualize projects in Africa, because we believe access to energy is very, very important, and the discussions are very good, but you also have to make an impact on the ground. That is what is going to help people. And so what we do is we identify projects across Africa, and we have a lot of partners in different countries that help us identify these projects. And we bring our network to actualize those projects. So for that reason, we have formed a network of different people, ranging from just professionals to engineering, procurement companies, to investors, and also just people who are in a position who have interest in Africa, and they're in a position to help in any capacity. So we have that network, so that when we look at a project, we identify what is missing with that project. For instance, does it have funders? Does it have developers? Does it have people who can do feasibility studies and things like that? Then we bring those people together and make that project viable. So that is what I'm about. Now, in terms of networking, you may not identify networking as being important. It's very, very important. So if you look at all these people like CEOs and so on, if you find an ad which says, we are looking for a CEO, don't depend on that ad. Because CEOs are not hired via advertising. They are hired via, most of the times, the word of mouth. Who do you think can do this job? So the saying that it's not what you know, but who you know, it's very much alive. So that's why it's important for you to know how to network. Now the question is, what is a network? Well, a network is really an exchange of ideas amongst different people, different organizations, different entities that works for the benefit of the people who are actually participating. In other words, if you want to develop a network, you have to make it benefit, at least provide some benefit to you. Otherwise, why are you even bothering about developing a network? So the first thing that you have to do then, if you are going to develop a network, is what do you want to get out of it? Identify that actual fact that, okay, I want this to help me with my education, or I want this to help me with my career. I want this to help me with my business. And once you identify that, what are the kinds of business, what is the kind of help that you need? Once you get to the help that you need, for instance, in the case of Energy Africa, the help we needed is to establish people abroad who would be able to identify these projects. So that was our target market. We had to look at people who actually operate abroad and also operate here, and those who may operate abroad, they don't operate here, but we can identify them and be able to talk to them and be able to develop that trust, that rapport, that should exist between us, so that we have mutual trust. When they go out there and talk about projects and talk about the things that we are able to offer, they know we are going to come through with those things. And not just after a while, no, I think I couldn't do it, and so on. That's not very good. So that's the first part. Once you identify what help you need, or what you need to get out of the network, then the next question is to identify the target. The next move is to identify the target. And once you identify the target, then you have to find out, where can I find these people? And there are a lot of networking events that you can go to, and you can find those online. There are quite a number of them. Like on LinkedIn, you can find quite a number of people there. And also you can go to the local chamber of commerce. You'll find a lot of people there. Or you can you can look at the local events that happen. You can find a lot of people there. You can go to conferences. You'll find a lot of people there. So some of us get bogged down into, well, how do I actually talk to those people once I get to them? The key thing is to make sure that you are prepared. Get to know what it is that you would like to present about yourself, so that when you go there, you can talk to somebody very quickly and say, hey, I am this, and this is what I do. And this is what I do, so that they know immediately what you are about. And be sure to ask questions of the person that you are talking to. Because many times what happens is people sit back and look around and say, who looks important here? And then those are the people that they go to. And they don't stick to them for so long, because many times people go there, they find this person that they develop a rapport with, and they forget why they went there. You went there to network, so you want to touch base with a lot of people. So just be there max 5 minutes. In fact, if you can make it 3-4 minutes, that's fine. And make notes so that you can follow up. Many times when I just started myself, I would have all these business cards from people. And after a couple of months, I look at them and say, why did I get this business card? It looks weird. So you want to make sure that you have a plan, and when you get home, that is what you sort of put everything down and say, okay, this person, this is the reason why I'm interested in them. And also be sure that you can help them as well. So don't just go there, and the first thing, you shouldn't make a mistake of asking them for help or a job, but just when you meet, make sure you try to get their interest and make sure you can help them in some way. And that is what you try to advance. How can I help you? You may be in a position where you know some people. You might connect them once in a while and say, hey, by the way, I thought this person might be good for you to meet. You two guys have got the same kind of, you are in the same business, or there's some kind of thinking. So perhaps the two of you can meet. What you are doing there is to maintain the contact, because that's the most important thing. If you can't maintain contact, very quickly things go down the drain. So you want to make sure that you maintain the contact. And the other thing is, be sure to thank them for their time. You can never ever overestimate or underestimate the power of just saying thank you, so that they know you appreciate what you appreciate either the service that they gave you and the fact that you devoted your time to talking to them. But let me circle back to identifying some of the people. Some of the most important people that I've met, they were not so interactive in the group. They were just in one area, seated all by themselves. And I go talk to them. I find out that these are big heavyweights, because sometimes they just want to come and observe what's happening at a particular meeting. And they have no reason for networking with themselves, because they've got all these people who they already know. But they may be in an environment where people don't know them that well. So you approach everybody. In other words, that's what I'm trying to say is, don't choose and pick. As long as they are there for networking. And remember, the reason why you are networking again. And most of these people, this is the reason why we have, let me put it this way, the reason why we have all these conferences and so on, they are all ways of networking. Now, so the question is, how do you, when you're going to approach people, how do you approach them? It's very simple. Just go there, introduce yourself and say, hey, this is Luka Powanga and this is what I do. And by the way, what do you do? And usually before you can even finish, they will reciprocate and they will tell you what they do. And then ask them questions. Talk more about the partner that you are with. Learn more about them rather than talking to them and telling them who you are and having this long process, telling them about how much you make and things like that. That just turns off people. And also you will notice that you may be thinking that you make a lot, And this guy comes and turns around, oh, yeah, I know about that. You know, I make billions of dollars. Well, you are not in the same class. Right there now, it will make you uncomfortable. But if you slide in a way that makes it easy for you and for the other person, in other words, your aim has got to be to develop a rapport. So just the same way that you make friends, that's how you develop a network. And a network means hard work because you have to follow up. So I think I will end it there, and then I will handle the questions.
Thank you, Dr. Powanga, for those insights. We'll save some questions for the end. Right now, I'll have Mr. Yona Shimonde to give his remarks. Yona, likewise, if you could introduce yourselves, give a little bit of background before you share your remarks.
Oh, okay. Hi, how's everybody doing? My name is Yona Shimonde. I am 25 years old. I was born in Zambia, and I came to America when I was like 4 years old, and I pretty much grew up in Dallas, Texas. You know, I moved around, but for the most part, I've been in Dallas, Texas. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a aerospace engineer, so I went to college for aerospace engineering. But, you know, while at school, I was like, you know, it's not really for me. I don't want to be in school, mainly for the fact of I didn't really feel challenged because it was kind of the same thing. I was in high school just sitting there listening to the teacher. Then went to college, it's the same thing. And, you know, me, I like to think outside the box. I like to be challenged and, you know, try new things. So I was like, all right. No, I left, decided to get into sales. I worked at AT&T for about 3 years. And for 3 years straight, I was top 10 in the whole state of Texas as far as sales goes on a monthly basis. And, you know, once I learned that, all right, I don't really need these companies or a job to make money, I figured I, you know, quit and start my own business. And when I first started, I had a clothing line. I use my name Luka, so I have a clothing line named Luka. And, you know, I made a lot of mistakes with my first business, but for those mistakes I made, it was just an opportunity to learn. And then that's when I got into digital marketing. And, you know, before I get into the whole backstory, I just want to start off with my goals. And my goals are to start a lot of businesses and take them to Zambia to help the economy, help the people. Yeah, I have a lot of family out there. And, you know, I have like a lot of plans in place that I like to put, but it's all on like a financial level. So, you know, I started my marketing agency to be able to fund my businesses. Once these businesses are able to fund more businesses, I could take them to Zambia with, you know, money and, you know, just stuff circulating. And like I said, the reason I'm really even doing this is to help family back home. You know, I was hearing headlines, Zambia this, Zambia that. And it's like, why can't I, you know, go back and help? And so it's been in the back of my mind when I was a kid. So I just started putting a plan in place to help out anywhere I can. And my other goal is to, because I build software apps and platforms and stuff like that, I want to provide platforms like Amazon for Zambian business owners to be able to, you know, sell in the areas, get out there, network and stuff like that. And then, of course, you know, apps for Zambian youth to be able to communicate and put our heads together. And a little bit about my business. I started a digital marketing agency last year in December, February time. Or December, January time, sorry. And I quit my job last year in May, so I've been self-employed for a year and about a month now. And we do everything from website development to app development, digital marketing. Digital marketing is, you know, when you search on Google, let's say you're looking for shoes, what company pops up? I'm the person that puts the company in front of what you're searching for. So I help like business owners, you know, make revenue through the internet, because a lot of business owners don't know how to get themselves in the internet. They don't know how to have the internet sell for them, you know, just because all you need to do is just put yourself in front of what people are searching for in order to profit for whatever business you have. And And whenever I was in school, what I really wanted was money. And I looked up what are the highest paying jobs, and it was aerospace engineering. Um, so that's why I even went down that road. But once I learned about business, I was like, well, I don't even need the education because I could just start my own business. I don't need a degree to do that. And all I have to do is just be able to talk to people. That's why I got into sales. And and whenever I was at AT&T, I wanted to, I guess my first goal was to move up in the company, be an executive, climb the ladder. But I never was really, I was number one in sales constantly, and I was never really given that opportunity. And, at first I was mad, like, yo, why aren't you guys looking at me? I'm making you guys all this money. Can I at least get a shot at upper management? But, I took that as, after a while, I learned that that's what God's plan was for me, to be able to start my own thing. And he didn't let me go up that ladder because he had a totally different plan for me. At first I was sad and, mad about it. But after a while, I started to realize, like, this is where God wants me to go. And being able to, influence other people and help other people with businesses, and whether it's just talking to them, is just what I'm here for. And I know there's a lot of people that want to get into business. So as an entrepreneur, what's very important is self-education. Because, yeah, I did drop out of school and that route wasn't for me, but you still have to learn every day. Every day I'm constantly learning something new, any new software, how to code differently, how to create a website differently, just constantly learning how to be compliant with the government. There's always a roadblock, and there's always something new to learn every day. And people give up and they just think, all right, I did this one time and I expect it to make me $1 million. No, it's you're gonna fail, it's gonna be hard, but you have to just keep going. And it's like, if you're good, long story short, you're gonna fail, and failure is a good thing because it's an opportunity for you to learn. You truly fail when you quit whatever your dream is, your business, whatever it is. I've failed over and over and over again, but I never let that stop me from going to the next step. It's like, all right, dang, I failed. I guess I'm not going to go that way. I'm going to just try a different way. Then I, when a different way failed again, then I was like, all right, I guess I got to try something else. And each step you learn something new, you gain a little bit more knowledge. And that's what makes, that's what made me into the man I am today, because I don't give up. And yeah, I may struggle, especially, starting businesses. I didn't have money. I didn't have any investors. My credit wasn't the best. So I had to figure out how to start a business, operate it with literally no money, and started small. And now I'm starting to grow into, I wouldn't say a large company, but, I'm getting there. And still not where I want to be in business, but definitely getting there. And one thing I want to tell you guys is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you do not have a plan in place, whether it's writing down what you want to accomplish that day, writing down what you want to accomplish that month, you're not, just thinking about it, it's just going to be in your back of the back of your head. You're just going to forget. So it's like, you want to plan out what you want to do, even if it's like take a jog or read a book or something. Write it down, do it, and check it off. It's done. Once you get through that rhythm, me now throughout the day, I write down probably 50 things and probably get 35 things done a day. And just those little things, those little details, that's what really helps you, elevate your mindset, elevate the way you think. And it's like, if you want to get into business and want to make money, I guess, as fast as possible, you want to start a business that helps other people or solves a problem, helps a need. Because for example, my business is a digital agency. Most of my clients, they don't know anything about the internet. They don't know how to Google stuff. They don't know how to, put their profiles on social media. They don't know how to, generate ads through Google. And I come in like, hey, I don't see you don't have this. I know you need it to make money. this is what it's going to cost, and I could do it for you. And they're willing to pay because they need it. So there's a lot of different businesses that you can start. Just make sure it's something that people are going to need, because, you know, everybody has, you know, it's a lot of competition for like clothing lines and stuff like that. And your profit margins are only like $5 to $10. You want to sell stuff that make you a lot more money per sale. Whereas, you know, you sell one time and you're good possibly for the week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, even a month. And that's it on that. And one thing you guys need to do is ask questions, ask a lot of questions. Don't believe everything you hear. You have to verify. Let's say you ask a question and somebody gives you an answer. Research that answer. Learn if what they're telling you is true. Where's that information coming from? You have to do your research. And with me, something that's really taken me far from whenever I first started to kind of where I am now, I got myself a mentor. One of my clients, you know, I helped her with her website, and then she introduced me to her husband, and he's like a multimillionaire. And he's the one who really taught me how to go from, you know, just thinking as like a boss, I guess, to thinking as a business owner, and how to delegate, how to find the right people, how to properly grow your business. And, you know, the people in your corner are what's really going to move you forward. You know, if you surround yourself by, you know, with lazy people, then like you're just probably going to be lazy too. And I had to learn that the hard way once I stopped hanging out with, you know, people that just want to party, smoke, and do stuff, and started hanging around like people like my mentor. That's when I really started grasping, okay, I need to stay focused. You know, it's when I started really taking notes on everything. And yeah, I think that's pretty much about it. And networking. Networking is key. You know, it's all about who you know. With me now, if I want to get something done, I know the right people to contact. Before, you know, a few years ago, when all of my friends, all they did was party, and I wanted to get something done, even take a trip, like it couldn't be done because, you know, nobody had money, nobody could think outside the box. And then once I started getting myself out of that, surrounding yourself with people that aren't doing anything, and surrounding yourself with people that will push you to, you know, get better, that's when I'm even able to ask a question that I don't know the answer to. And that pretty much wraps up my thing.
Awesome, 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 awesome points.
Thanks,
We'll go
Yona.
back to Chita.
Yes. Thanks, Yona, for sharing. Next up, we have Change Kwesele, personal friend of mine. Really excited to have her. Change, if you don't mind introducing yourself and sharing your prepared remarks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me, Chita, and the ZLA and AZA. So my name is Change Kwesele, and I am in my final year of my doctoral program at the University of Michigan. And I'm studying social work and psychology. I was born in Zambia and raised in the United States. I came as a baby. And I've spent the last decade back and forth between the United States and Zambia. And I will be talking a little bit about my past experience, but generally I focus on social work and psychology. And so I have a little presentation. That's the therapist in me. That's the lecturer in me. So the title of my presentation is really the title of my dissertation, which is my final project in my PhD program. And it's Shvukeni, or Wake Up, and expanding our mindset around mental wellness and personal success. So I love the topic of well-being, and really what I started with in my education is I started with focusing on HIV and sexual health. But what I realized in working in Zambia is that as much as we can focus on testing and counseling, there are other parts of our well-being that are important. And so in my teaching and in my research, I always begin with my grandparents because they represent so much to me. They represent history, culture, faith, And I remember their stories, which are very much my stories. And I have this proverb that says, if we stand tall, it is because we stand on the shoulders of many ancestors. And so a part of my well-being really stems from them and all that they instilled in me. And the fact that every time I enter the room or enter a room, I'm entering with them. And so I often start this way when I'm talking to, it doesn't matter who I'm talking to, my students, my clients, when I'm talking to professors and other people, I start with them. So I'm sure people are tired of hearing about, but to me, they're the beginning and the other people as well. And so this is very important to me. And so the wellness wheel, I feel like, is so important because when we talk about expanding our mindset, we often talk about intellectual things. We talk about, oh, I need to read this, I need to read that. And yes, I think that's very important. And I often talk to students about this, and I talk to clients about this, that I ask people, what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? At the same time, we need to think about other parts of the wellness wheel, which is, how are your finances? You know, what's your social circle like? And I often tell people that you should have a balance. And actually 2 days ago, one of my clients was like, Changi, you tell me that, you know, I should have a balance, but I don't know how to do that. And so I think that it's kind of like a piggy bank. Every time we can put a little penny in each of them, you know, sometimes it won't be balanced, but as long as we're putting seeds in each of them, I think it's very important to just know that to expand our mindset, we have to be investing in ourselves and others in many other ways. And so for reminders or for lessons that I have from my own life on expanding your mindset, I'm going to go through them. And the first one is remember your roots and remember your core. The reason why I think this is so important, not just because of the social political time that we're in now, but because I learned from a lot of mentors that I have is that I'm never alone. And I heard Yona talk about God's plan for me. And I think that one of the best pieces of advice that I heard is that God has already gone before you. So when we talk about our roots and our core, like my grandparents' story, my parents' story, on my mother's side and my father's side, like I'm just a continuation of that story. And I think sometimes as young people, we think that we have to start from scratch, but that's not necessarily the case. There's so much history. And obviously today we're honoring John Lewis, this from the Civil Rights Movement. And when he was 23 years old, he was the youngest speaker on the March on Washington. And I think knowing certain history, you know, not just in America's civil rights history, but also knowing Zambian history across the continent is very important, because then it will remind us that we have a voice and that we are royalty, really. I walk into a room and I remind myself that I'm royalty. So the next point is keep your eyes on your own paper, on your own journey. I think this is so important, especially in this generation, I think for young people and older people, because sometimes we look at what people are posting on social media and we think, oh, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And then we get to where people are and we're like, oh, I'm not there yet. It's like the ruler is always moving in terms of where we need to be. And so a story that from my life that is very important in terms of keep your eyes on your own journey and on your own paper is that as an undergraduate, I studied at Loyola University, Chicago, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after I graduated, but I studied international studies. I didn't know later on that I would narrow that down to health and then social work and psychology. But people would say, Changi, what are you doing? I had a friend who said, oh, you're interested in international relations. There's a White House internship that you should apply to. And I know someone who was also in that program, so you should consider it. I said, the White House, that's too big for me. But I said, okay, I'm going to consider it. And I really had been missing Zambia at that point. I had been missing my cousins, my grandparents. So I said, I'm also going to apply for a Fulbright fellowship. And again, Fulbright seemed too big too, because former President Bill Clinton had a Fulbright. So all these people have had Fulbright. So I'm like, who am I? And then at that time, I think I had also applied to Peace Corps, because I'm like, any way that I can get back to Zambia, I want to go. I'll do anything. What ended up happening, I was 21 years old. I got all three of them. And that experience in my life really taught me that I shouldn't underestimate myself, but also when I would tell people my plans, people would be like, that's weird. Like, are you sure? You should have a backup plan. And being sure of myself was important, but also knowing that my journey is different than other people's journey. And that brings me to choose good teammates. I had people that I would tell my goals to, and people would say, oh, Change, apply to this, consider this. And even now, I think something that I try to remember is that who are my teammates? I think as people, we don't reevaluate who's on our team. We just say, oh yeah, I grew up with this person, or I know this person. But there are people who can come into our life and do more in 1 month than some people have done in years. And so I think it's a balance of constantly thinking about our teammates, but also stepping outside of the box as well. And lastly, speaking positively changes your mindset. This is very powerful. And I always tell my clients, speak life, speak life. It's powerful, I think, even in our culture around like the words we say have meaning, but also biologically. Speaking life, speaking positively is important. In the picture, I highlighted the frontal lobe, this region of the brain, because really how we speak, this region of our brain is responsible for our behavior, our personality, our thoughts. So when you say, I can, I will, we can, we will, not the PhD syndrome, the pull her down syndrome, no, but the I can, we can, I will. Your brain, our brains remember that. Our brains really remember that, and it's very powerful. And I've had the honor of working with people. Every time someone comes into my space, I feel blessed because I realize, oh, this person's sharing their story with me. And I have seen people progress in weeks and in months to, Change, I remembered what you told me, and I've been telling myself I can and I will. And something relevant to what Yona said that's very important is this past year I told myself, I'm at the University of Michigan. Michigan has a lot of money. And I told myself every month apply to at least one scholarship. And that is exactly what I did. And I got 3 or 4 of them, over $20,000, because I had told myself every month, no matter how small it is. And I think what's important about that is sometimes as young people, we believe that only this one job is my destiny. This one company is my destiny. This one school is my destiny. And this one country, this one city. And I think in my life, so many people, I've seen people's stories, including my parents' story, and it's always been a journey. And so I think speak life, not just for yourself, but to others, because when we speak positively, it changes how we think about ourselves, how we interact with the world, and how we really, our habits change as well. And so I have a brief activity. And so for this activity, I guess we can have thank you. Okay, so for this activity, what I want you to do, and I can kind of see people, which is good, but I want you to, whatever room that you're in, I want you to take notes and maybe even count all the things that you see that are blue. So in whatever room that you're in, I want you to count. Okay, and so when you're done with that, I want you to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, I want you to think about all of the things that you saw or counted that were yellow. Okay, so as you open your eyes, and usually I talk to clients about this, but so many of you probably were looking for the things that were blue and counting the things that were blue because I told you to. But I think oftentimes what we miss is we miss the yellow, but not only do we miss the yellow, we miss all the other colors. And so we're so focused on I have to do this one thing, or this is who I am, that we forget that it may not necessarily look like the way we want it to be. It might come in another package. So I had to do that because that's the therapist in me, but thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with everyone today.
Thank you, Change, for, I feel like a lot of knowledge there. We appreciate you. Our next speaker, we saw a little bit about earlier, Dr. Henry Musoma. He's the Doctor of Kindness. Mr. Musoma, Dr. Musoma, I'll ask you to again introduce yourself and then share your prepared remarks.
hand, please. Can y'all hear me? Are we good?
Yep,
Okay.
I just unmuted you.
Thank you. Please wave if you could see me and smile. Act like we've met before. Change, thank you. Dr. Luka, thank you so much. And also, Yona, thank you. Let me just start off with reading this for you. The paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings, but shorter tempers, wider freeways, but narrower viewpoints. We spend more, but have less. We buy more, but enjoy it less. We have bigger houses and smaller families, more conveniences, but less time. We have more degrees, but less sense. Can I get a witness? We have more degrees, but less sense. We have more knowledge, but less judgment. We have more experts, but more problems. More medicine, but less wellness. Oh, this is getting so sweet right here. We drink too much and smoke too much, and we spend too recklessly, but we laugh too little. We laugh too little. We drive too fast, and we get up too angry too quickly. We stay up too late watching Netflix. And we have multiplied our possessions, but we've reduced our values. The author of this piece calls it the paradox of our time in history. My name is Henry Musoma, or Henry Musoma, and I am from Chingola, Zambia, Kabwe, Zambia, Lusaka, Zambia, Luanshya, Zambia, and all those cities in Zambia. But I claim to be a Kopala boy. That's how they say it, Kopala boy, okay? My roots are in Chief Mwamba's village. I am wholly Zambian, and I know there's an accent that is being discerned. For those of you haters out there, you're saying, "Bale yumfua, aweteku yumfua, to akokola kokuno nechimba chonse tulalanda." Okay? I took care of all the haters right now. Okay. Annabelle, I see you smiling. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, a child that doesn't travel, Yona, thinks his mom's the greatest cook. So today I invite you on a journey in my life. I want you to travail with me, and I want you to visit the spaces of that made me who I am. Okay. When you ask me the question, who are you? My simple answer is this. I am a broken vessel. I am a human being that is fast learning how to mend things that are broken, because most things in our lives are broken, Change, and need fixing. And that's why we need people like you. In fact, I come to you as a person who spent a couple of weeks in China. I'm a hospital, in case you didn't know. So mental health is something that is important to me. And in fact, at one time, Christopher, I was worried. I thought that I was going to end up on the streets of Lusaka picking out of trash, because there's a stigma with mental health that comes in Zambia. But I thank God that I'm here this morning speaking to you, and I am well. Okay? So the question I ask all of you to contemplate is this. Who are you? Yona, who are you? For some of you, that seems, Dr. Luka, like a simple question. You might say, I am a father, I am a mother, I am a professor, I am this or that, Peter, I am this. But it's not a simple question. It's one that we all should visit. And for that, I'm going to throw out a book for you to read. It's by Peter Senge. It's called The Fifth Discipline. The Fifth Discipline. And Peter Senge has a piece that he talks about called the ladder of inference. And the ladder of inference simply says, we all make these assumptions really quickly about ourselves and about others. Some of you are looking at me and saying, nah, but hey, you mona. No. I chose to wear this shirt because it's fly. This is swag from Zambia right here. Okay? Yes, baby, swag. Hashtag awesome. Okay. So who are you? So how do we start to change something that we don't truly know? So if you don't know yourself, number one, how are you going to change it? And then how are you going to bring about the change that you expect to see in the world? Okay? So you can't offer value when you don't know your own value. I've only met two types of people on this planet. In fact, let me rephrase this, Changi. There's people on this planet that God made, all of us, right? And some of us believe that we're worthless, one word. And I hate this to think this. A lot of people in Zambia feel that way. You know, all that kind of nonsense that we've propagated in our culture for so long. Makes sense. Where there's a different value for a male, there's a different value for a female. Okay? Am I true on this one? I feel like I've lost somebody. Maybe there's still gender issues in Zambia. Yes? Wave your hand if you understand what I'm talking about. Come on, wave at me. Okay. So Who are you? Do you know your value? Do you know your worth? So there's two types of people. People that believe that are worthless. And I believe the word worthless should be broken up into two parts, and it should be worth less. There's only people that are worth less by choice. There's no worthless human being. No matter what your station in his life, you're not worthless, one word. But you are worthless, two words, because that's a function of your mindset. Make sense? The worthless, two words, is a function of your mindset. So I'm going to take you to three places: your intellectual, your emotional, and your spiritual. Changi, thank you so much for unpacking this for me as well. Your intellect, your emotions, and your spiritual. Okay, so what is intellect? Your intellect is something that is rational rather than emotional. What is emotional? It's something that has feelings that are easily excited and openly displayed. That's your emotion. What is your spiritual? It has to do with the spirit, not as in ghosts, but as in the essence of being human. In Africa, we call it Ubuntu. I am because you are, and you are because I am. Ladies and gentlemen, President Kaunda said some very powerful words when he was interviewed at Boston University a couple years ago. He said, when it's all said and done, the final export out of Africa will be our humanity, will be our Ubuntu. So for those of you that are out there wondering what I do for a living, I am an exporter of Ubuntu to the United States. In simple words, I am not a professor. I am not anything else, but I am an exporter of Ubuntu, and I'm taken care of in a big, big way. Make sense? So how do we change our mindset? Our mindsets are the things that we have set so much in terms of our intellect. In Zambia, our mindsets are so backwards. We still ask our students who discovered the Victoria Falls in exams. And the answer is David Livingstone. Fix that. We still have judges and lawyers wearing wigs from Europe in hot Africa. Fix that. It looks ridiculous. A black guy like me with a wig on their head. That is ridiculous. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery, folks. None but ourselves can free our minds. Bob Marley. Why are we wearing wigs in hot Africa? Mindsets. Emotional, Othello. Those of you that studied Shakespeare, Othello, it said, Othello, he ends up killing Desdemona, his wife, because he believes a lie. He's acting on emotions. Anytime you and I act on emotions, we don't make good decisions. Then the third piece is our spiritual. Job 42:5. Job says, I used to hear of the Lord, but now I see him. I used to hear of the Lord, but now I see him. Job 42:5. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was so excited to talk to you. I'm racing through this because I wanted to make sure that I had all my points collected. But let me just kind of wrap this up. Mindset. When I first moved to the United States, I remember being told that I was different from the African-American folks, that I was better than them. And I bought that story, that you are different. What I didn't realize is that that wasn't true. It was a game that my colleagues were playing, and a game that divides and conquers. Then when I graduated from college and I started to look for work, I realized that on the street, it didn't matter whether I was from Africa or not. I was just a black man. I was a Negro. That when I went to the bank to get a loan, I'm a black man. So I contended with my identity. It was during the course of my PhD that I started reading books by Mwanakatwe and all these Zambian intellects that Dr. Powanga, I started to say to myself, oh my goodness, then I started reading some of the articles my father wrote, and I was thinking, man, my father started school when he was 10, and the man's vocabulary is out of this world. See what I'm saying? Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our own minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. So this is what I bring to you today. You are locked up in your own mind. And Steve Biko said this, the most powerful weapon in the hand of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. Steve Biko, South Africa. The most powerful weapon in the hand of the oppressor, Peter Chilashe, is the mind of the oppressed. So let me tell you a quick story about me quickly, and then I'll finish. Is that okay? So came to America, got my bachelor's degree, couldn't find work, waited tables for 3 years. It sucked. Tray in my hand, 3 years, got my bachelor's degree, came to America to get the chunk of the American dream, ended up with a small piece of the American dream, then got my master's degree, still couldn't find work, got married, started having kids, still broke, poor, disgusted. and just almost sending my diploma back to the university. My mindset wasn't open. I hadn't learned how to sell myself, Yona. I hadn't learned how to brand myself. We all are a brand, but you can't offer a value if you don't know your value. That makes sense? So Peter Senge says 3 things. We need to learn how to reflect. We need to learn how to be an advocate for ourselves. Makes sense? So I've learned how to be an advocate for myself. So I'm going to fast forward you to last year. I get invited to speak in Mexico, Changi. And I'm speaking at this university in Mexico, right? And Ms. Frida, thank you so much for putting this together. You're awesome. You're awesome. You're awesome. You can count the number of seeds in an orange, Ms. Frida, but you can never count the number of oranges in a seed. This is what this is about, Ms. Frida. You can count the number of seeds in an orange, but you can never, ever, ever count the number of oranges in a seed. So I'm in Mexico. They invite me to Mexico. Rodney Siwale, my brother, you see, wave your hand. I want to see you. Wave your hand, Rodney. So they invite me to Mexico, right? Bella, there you go. And I'm speaking in Mexico. And they never told me that the conference was about mental health, Ms. Frida. They didn't even know that I had experience with mental health. And I give a speech that I end up getting a 10, 15-minute standing ovation because I spoke from my heart. Ladies and gentlemen, the most powerful place to lead from is this place called the heart. The word courage comes from the word cur, which means heart in the Latin. We need to find our space in the heart. Most of us are leading from here. You can't lead from here. Yes, you start here, but it's got to travel here. The most effective leaders on the planet are people that move us, that they move us. They move us. And the question I have for all of us is, when you find out who you are, then you'll be able to move people because you'll be able to live and speak from your heart and also from your head. This is why your classes, if you're a professor, are not popular, because all you know is how to speak from your head. You've never taken the journey to your heart. The journey between this and that is a long journey, but you've got to take it. 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 It sucks, but you've got to take it. Okay, I'm done. Sorry, Chita. I think I went over my...
No, this was great. I really appreciate it. You've given us a lot of gems. The chat is the most busy it's been. Everybody's enjoying your talk, but I would like to transition now to our Q&A session and get a few questions in. Before I do that, I just kind of want to summarize what I've heard and what I've learned from each of our speakers today. One quick takeaway is from Mr. Musoma is like my soundtrack for the rest of the day is going to be Bob Marley now. But what I did hear is that you need to learn who you are in order for you to improve it, to change it. And that needs to come, we need courage in order to do that. And that needs to come from the heart and not just from the mind. And then I really like what you said about being an ambassador or an exporter of Ubuntu. We all could use more of that, especially in current times politically and socially and the pandemic. I think it's really important to practice Ubuntu in our current times. And then from Change, I learned that we do need to speak life and to keep an open mind, to speak life into our own lives and to keep an open mind to different opportunities. We might be looking for the blue in the room, but our true opportunities are in the yellows and pinks that exist. So keep an open mind and soak it all in and also the importance of our teammates, right? Because they help us recognize those blues and yellows and those people around you who volunteer you for opportunities. Like we did these speakers, they elevate you and present new opportunities. And then from Yona, so many rich lessons there. I learned about the importance of failing and how that helped propel you and have you helped you gain this learning mindset, even though it wasn't a traditional learning path. You're constantly learning and through your mentors and teaching yourself things as a business owner. I think a lot of people may assume that business means that you have an easy life and you just use your talents, but it was really good to hear that you're constantly improving yourself. And also the importance of writing down our goals and planning and having a plan. I think you said failure to plan is planning to fail. So that was really important. I'm starting to practice that habit of writing everything down because my days get away from me sometimes. And I think that's the only way we can make meaningful progress towards our goals. So that was really good to hear from you, Yona. And then from Dr. Luka, I learned about his work in helping Africa build sustainable infrastructure for what we're doing, which I think is so important. I think we come here and we see things that are sustainable and it seems kind of easy to do, but the importance of taking that what we're learning in diaspora and taking it back home and helping people build that. That was really cool to hear about what Dr. Powanga is doing around that. And then the two-sidedness of relationships and your network. So when you're in a room, hitting those targets, but also listening to what their needs may be and how you can be the facilitator of connections with your networks and how to keep them alive and meaningful. So thank you all so much for all of those insights. I think I learned a lot and there's a lot to digest. So I really appreciate it. There is a question. I'll advise our participants to go ahead and enter their questions in the chat. We did get one come across. One of the questions that came was for Change and Dr. Henry Musoma, was around how do we encourage young people to seek out mental health help and resources. Change had a page in here for some resources that may be available, but like how do we make that conversation, you know, a day-to-day and remove some of the stigma that attaches with having mental health needs? Change, Dr. Musoma, either one of you can take it.
Change.
Well, I think for me, first of all, ooh, there's an echo. So I think first of all, maybe it's the word mental health. Sorry, there's an echo.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so I think first of all, with mental health, sometimes the word mental health can be scary. So with a lot of people that I work with, especially immigrants, I don't even use the word mental health. I use words like grief, sadness. And so people say, oh yeah, in my culture, we don't have that. And then they start telling their story. And it is a mental health issue. And so I think, first of all, the words that we use are important. But I think when we talk about supporting our youth, we need to talk about not just the youth, but we come from a culture where it's not just, I am because you are, right? So how is the mother? How is the father? How is the grandmother? So it's a unit. How are your friends? And I think for me, people are scared. The topic of mental health is scary. So I think that one thing that I work with different clients, but I find that when I talk about Proverbs, even like my Indian client is like, that relates to me. There are some topics that as we grew up, our parents wouldn't speak to us directly. They spoke to us indirectly, but in many ways, it still affected our mental health. So anyway, I would say that we can use the tools that we have to talk about mental health. So what are the Proverbs that we have that bring healing? What are the stories that we have that bring healing? But also, I think it's okay for young people to talk to people who they trust. And sometimes in our culture, the person you trust is not the person next to you. You know, sometimes it's an auntie, sometimes it's someone else. And so I think young people to feel safe, like this person won't just, you know, be ZNBC, CNN, tell my business to everybody. That's important. And for people who don't want to talk, I've had people write it down, rip it up. I say, don't burn it because that could cause problems, but write down what you're feeling. And also I think going back to the wellness wheel is important because sometimes some of my clients, some stuff is so painful that they can't talk about it, but dancing brings them peace. So by the time she's been going to dance classes for 10 weeks, she's ready to talk. So I think we just have to, I think we're creative people. What are we eating? Pretty, send me some food. What are we putting in our body, right? So all of these things I think is how we can talk about mental health. It's not one answer. I think it's a collective of things. And I think ask the youth too. Sometimes people don't ask the youth what the youth wants. And the youth sometimes, we all have answers. It's just sometimes we need a push.
Thank you, Change. Is Dr. Powanga still with us? I know he had to run off. We had a question for him, but nevertheless, that's fine. I think he had to run to another engagement. One question I do have for any of the speakers is, do you think of a time, or when was the first time you were challenged to expand your mindset, and how has that continued to pay off for you?
For me recently, I do some travel and some consulting, and there for a while I was doing a lot of unpaid gigs, you know, just free, just grateful to have the opportunity. And one of the things that happened to me was I spoke at a university, and this woman, I invoiced her a certain amount of money, and she paid me 3 times what I invoiced her. And my reaction was, oh my goodness, she made a mistake. And so I reached out to her, and she said these words to me, and I quote, "Never ever underestimate yourself like that again." Makes sense. And so from that moment, I shifted my mindset a little bit, but still was in my old mindset. So the next time I was invited to speak, I went back to my old rate. Does that make sense? And then quickly, Changi, I changed. I said, no, 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 no. You know, I think as Africans as well, we struggle with false humility. Would you all, anybody know what I'm talking about? You know, and so I changed, y'all, and it will blow your mind what my hourly rate is. And it has blown my mind as well for the last few months. And I asked another organization that invited me to speak for the same rate. And Changi, they didn't respond to my email for 3 days. And guess what the Zambian and me started to do? To type them an email to apologize for my sense of inflated sense of self-worth. Does that make sense? That was a challenge. And right before I could send that email, they responded with the response, well, it's a one line, and it said, "Dr. Musoma, thank you so much. Please tell us your hotel preferences and what kind of flights you take." Makes sense. They accepted that. And so that was a major shift. Nobody was putting limits on me, but I was putting limits on myself.
And if I could add one thing to that, I love that so much, because I think I've come to realize the same thing. Is sometimes we walk into a room and we think like, I'm talking to professors, I'm talking to the president of the university. And then I realize I know more than they do on certain topics. And I think we need to own that, you know? And so I'm teaching at the same level as some professors who don't have the same knowledge. And I think so we often don't sell ourselves. And another thing, I think this is very cultural. Somebody will be cooking beans. You know you don't want beans, but you're like, okay, yeah, I'll take the beans. You know you want chicken, you know? So I think we need to own it. You know, we need to say it's okay, especially in the Western world, like ask for what you want. There's power in that. Take the beans and the chicken.
That's great. Yona, anything you'd like to add to that, of a moment that challenged your previous mindset?
Ooh, I think the biggest challenge I faced, I'd say ever, was right after I quit my job. So, like that, the last 6 months of me working at AT&T, so AT&T franchises its stores to companies, and, you know, third-party companies own these AT&T stores, and one company bought the company I was working for. And so whenever I quit, supposedly, you know, I was supposed to get probably $6,000 to $7,000, you know, to, you know, just have money for, you know, because I quit my job, and, you know, just have money to do stuff with. And I never received that money. And, you know, I had invested pretty much all the money I had into my business. So I was expecting to get at least like $6,000 or something. And that whole summer, last summer, I did not. I had a business with bills coming, and I didn't have any money to pay those bills. So I started a window cleaning company. So I was going to, I just, you know, got a business card, printed window cleaning with my phone number. And I went to, you know, just stores, and I was making like 20, 40, 50 bucks cleaning windows in the heat. And yeah, that was probably the most challenging time ever, because, you know, I went from making, you know, really good money at AT&T to no money at all. And I had to really figure out how to survive without that guaranteed income.
Okay, so it sounded like you had to reframe your expectations, or reframe how you were living life to kind of get to where your dream and your goals were. One other thing I want to ask is, I think we mentioned how, I think Dr. Powanga said something about sometimes the person in the room who's the billionaire is sitting back and quiet. One thing about the Zambian community we've noticed is like a lot of people who are doing good things like to hide, right? Like they're low key, they don't want to be known. And it's platforms like this that we want to kind of showcase some of the talent that we have in the room. So like, how have you guys, Changa talked about teammates and who you have around you. How often and what's your practice in kind of evaluating who you have around you and who challenges and who helps you develop, while also balancing supporting others and mentoring others in order for them to kind of get to where you are?
I take that one first.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have homework for everybody. Whenever you get a home tonight, and the book is called The Startup of You by, there's echo. Can somebody?
I think it's me.
The Startup of You, and it's by Reid Hoffman. He's the co-founder of LinkedIn. And I take this idea from him. We're all in permanent beta. And so what we all should do is appoint 5 people in our lives. If our life was a corporation and you are the CEO of your life, Priska, what 5 people would serve on your board? If your life was a corporation and you are the CEO of your life, what 5 people would be on your corporation? So the book is called The Startup of You. So I choose very closely the 5 people. And Yona, I've moved away from the idea of mentors because mentors sometimes are not as functional as they can be. I'm looking for sponsors. I'm looking for people who sit at the table of decisions, because if you're not at the table of decisions, you're the food at the table of decisions. And so who can I find who sits at that table that can speak for me? That makes sense. Because I can mentor, somebody could mentor you all day long, but if they don't have access to influence and power, it's an effortless endeavor. So I'm looking for sponsors more than mentors in my life at this stage,
And I would say for me, since I'm kind of on the business owner side of things, when it comes to hiring or trying to, hire an employee, I hire people that are smarter than me in that specific field. So I offer like 17 different digital services. And when it comes down to like coding and all of that, I don't know how to code. I just know what I want done. And I'll hire somebody that knows how to code. When it comes to creating the ads, yeah, I can do it, but my ads manager, he's been doing it for like 20 years, 15 years, or however long he's been doing it. And I hire people that are better than me because I can learn from them as well, as far as how I can incorporate what they do in my business. And I would say what I'm doing is I'm creating a digital class I'm launching in August on how to start your own digital agency. It's literally from A to Z. All you need is a computer and a phone, and just be willing to learn. So that's kind of how I plan on helping people that want to get their own business started. That's about it.
And I think what I can add to that is, me personally, I love working with people one-on-one, but I also work with a lot of groups. That's in Zambia and also locally in the United States. I did want to say that I'm 1 year away from getting my PhD, and I thought that getting my PhD would be the end of my education. Unfortunately, that's not true. Unfortunately, I realized that it's just the beginning. And I was telling Frida this on our conversation, is the fact that the more you know, the more you realize the less you know. So I'm like, oh, I thought I was getting my PhD and I was done. But actually, every group of students teaches me something new. Every new client teaches me something new. My grandma is still teaching me something new. And I think we need to get to a certain point, and then that's it. And so I guess I'm kind of annoyed at the reality that life is, the ruler keeps moving. I think that's reminded me to be content in every season while I'm a PhD student, And I think in mentoring people, I guess the last 2 things that I think about is, I asked somebody this yesterday, and she was telling me about how she's been consistent with something for 90 days. And I said, okay, so you're comfortable with that. And I asked her, now how do you want to get out of your comfort zone? And it took her back because she's like, I've been so comfortable with this, and now her next goal is to do something that she's not necessarily comfortable with. And I think a lot of us are so comfortable with, what we know, but it's really what we're looking for is often in the discomfort. And I guess the last thing I can say on mentorship is, in helping other people, I've learned so much. So I often ask my mentees what they're doing to help somebody else, because it's the people that you're helping. It's not an educational thing, but anybody that you're helping, it's like a therapeutic alliance. We teach one another. So who are you helping? Is it your little cousin? Is it your auntie? Is it your mom? Hi, mommy. All of these different things. Who are you teaching? Because they then in turn, like other people, there are many people who I talk to and I'm like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. And so I think the best thing about mentorship is that I'll always be maybe not necessarily a mentee, but I'll always be a learner, and I have to accept that. And just because I'm getting a PhD, it's the beginning of my learning, and not the end.
Thank you to all Change for that, and to all our presenters. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge. I think everybody would agree that this was an amazing hour. We wish we could go on some more. I know some people joined us late. I've put out a poll question. Please respond to that. We want to collect some feedback immediately from you all. And while that's going on, I think Dr. Henry Musoma is leaving us. Thank you, Dr. Henry. While the poll is going on, I do want to thank the team that put this all together. We have a few more sessions that will be following every third Saturday of each month through the end of the year. Our next one is the Build Your Financial Literacy to Break the Chains of Economic Slavery. There'll be so much there, so please share with the youth in your lives and just other people. I think everybody can benefit from the content we plan on sharing. So thank you again for joining us. Please respond to the poll, and we appreciate you staying on for an extra 10 minutes. All right. I'm just sharing the results of the poll. It's good to see that we had 6 people from Zambia, a lot of people here in the US, some people from Europe, so many youthies. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time. Rita, do you have something to share? We can't hear you. No.
Chita, I think you
Frida, you may have to take yourself off mute.
I think you can unmute her as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to, yeah. No, can't hear Frida.
I can't hear.
Oh, there she goes.
No, that's me.
Oh.
Okay, she's off mute now. Okay.
Okay.
Bella, you may want to make some closing remarks because we can't hear Frida.
Sure thing. Thank you, Trina. So on behalf of Zambians Promoting Leadership in America, ZLA, and the Association of Zambians in Atlanta, first of all, I'd like to thank our panelists for making time out of their busy schedules to come and impart their knowledge with us. And of course, we'd like to take this time to thank our great facilitator, Ms. Chita, for coordinating the discussions and just keeping us on track. We're very grateful that you all took time out of your schedules to be here. And thank you very much for having your videos on for us to see some faces with the names. It's always nice to see people that we haven't seen in a long time, but also to see fresh faces at our events. So we will be sending out invites. We hope we don't mind that. We do have your email, so we'll send out an invite for the next event so that you can sign up. Hopefully you found this session to be very beneficial, as I did, and we're definitely looking forward to having you come join us next time when we have one of these sessions. And please do join our Facebook pages, like our pages, and please post any comments that you may have, any suggestions you may have on how we can make these sessions better. We're always looking for that feedback because it's the first one that we've put out. So we're also, as organizations, looking for opportunities to grow and making sure that we're bringing content that's very appropriate and relevant for all our participants to apply in their lives. And with that being said, again, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you at our next session.
Thank you, Bella. We have one last ask for everyone. If you will look in the camera and smile, we want to take a few screenshots. So Bella and Chita, if you'll take a screenshot of everybody that's participating. So we'll have this to go down in our record books. Thank you all so much for attending. And it may
Wait a
take her
minute. Give me a second. Wait, give me a
Sorry,
second.
you may have to guide us on how to do that.
I'm going to do it. Just give me a second.
Oh, sure.
I was caught off guard. We should have done this. All right. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. All right. You look beautiful, people.
Quick question.
All right, bye,
right.
everybody.
Recording.
Have a good day, everybody.
Recorded.
Bye.
Oh, Ms. Soneka was asking a question.
Is this session recorded? Can someone find it?
Yes. Yes. It will be recorded and we'll be sharing on our social media.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Chita, also save the chat just in case there were any follow-up questions on there.
I think she dropped. Okay, I'll copy those and make sure we have them.
Thank you so much.
No, we can hear you, Dr. Frida. Can you try now?
What'd you say, Bella?
Dr. Frida's to fix her audio, but we can't hear her.
I think it's her computer because for some reason I was dropped, so I'm not a host anymore, but I know we can't hear her and I can see that she's not muted on the app.